Hello everyone, my name is Rebecca, and in this week's video, I'm going to do whatever YouTube's AI video idea generator tells me to do. To be honest, I'm one of those people that hates AI with a passion, and I find it very annoying. I really dislike what it's done to many creative communities, especially the art community. However, I do understand that it can also be used to make tedious or technical tasks faster, or is also being used to help people like people with disabilities. So I get that it's not all bad. Anyways, in the YouTube studio, there is the Inspiration tab, and YouTube will basically generate some video ideas roughly based off of my usual content. For example, unboxing weird art supplies and reviewing. Also, what even is this thumbnail? From my many years of experience, I don't feel like people would be inclined to click on a video of this thumbnail. Also, I love how this thumbnail for making a custom squishy just made the squishy yellow instead of pink.
Guys, look at my super custom squishy. It's so original. I made it yellow.
So yeah, that's the Inspiration tab. I refreshed my studio, so let's click on the Inspiration tab to see what YouTube gives me. To make things more interesting, I'm not going to show you all of the ideas at once. Instead, I'll show you them one by one as I do them. Oh, but I'm not going to do this one since it's basically the same idea as this video I made recently, but I'll be doing all the other ones. So the first idea YouTube has for us is reviving childhood art, redrawing my old OCs. Okay, so this one is a pretty safe idea. If I click on the idea, YouTube has a whole outline for me along with talking points. It even has other thumbnails. But this is just another example of how AI is creeping into creative spaces, like thumbnail design. And honestly, most of these are really horrible. Like I said, I don't really feel like people would click on most of these. Anyways, YouTube wants me to redraw one of my old OCs, and an old OC that I haven't drawn in years is Topaz, so I chose her for this challenge. Also, I thought it'd be funny to read off the intro YouTube thinks I should say, so here I go. Think your childhood art was unique? Mine too, but what if we took those cringeworthy designs and actually made them good? In this video, I'm taking on the ultimate artistic challenge, transforming my incredibly embarrassing old OCs into something genuinely awesome. You'll see the messy beginnings, the creative struggles, and the jaw-dropping glow-up. I know I'm a YouTuber, but I never have the confidence to actually say and believe things like jaw-dropping glow-up. I don't know, I feel like that's just putting a lot of pressure on myself because it gives the viewer an expectation of something amazing. But a lot of times I don't want to give them that expectation. It's more like, look guys, I'm redrawing my old OC. I hope I got better and that you don't hate it. Sometimes I do wonder if I should try to script my videos more in this kind of interesting YouTuber-y way to make them more captivating or more interesting, but it never feels super true to me, and I kind of just prefer talking more like myself. So like I mentioned, I'm drawing my OC Topaz. According to this old piece of art, Topaz is 18, has light pink hair, violet eyes, her birthday is December 29th, and her personality is kind and friendly, but also she gets mad easily. That feels like two things that shouldn't really go together. I think what younger me meant is that she can be passionate, like she will stand up for herself and people. She's kind, but she's not a doormat, if that makes sense. She don't have time to put up with people's nonsense. Topaz was a character I created when I was 15 or 16 years old. She is an elf character, and her whole story kind of revolved around her being in prison. That sounds odd to say for some reason. Topaz was in prison for stealing food because her and her sister Jade are orphans and they are hungry. Also, Topaz was originally younger when I was writing her story, but eventually I made her 18. When I made this art, the story had taken a major turn. Instead of Topaz being in prison, she was working at an orphanage and helped take care of the kids. But then she maybe somehow ended up in prison, I think. Possibly for something her sister did, and she takes the blame. I honestly don't remember at this point. I never wrote any of this down, or if I did, it's all lost. I am totally relying on bits and pieces that I remember. But thankfully now we have websites like Unveil that can help me keep track of all my characters and their lore. Shout out to Unveil for sponsoring this video. If you watch my videos often, you have probably heard me talk about Unveil. It lets me create super handy character pages where all my characters' art and info is. I can't tell you how many times I go to my character pages because I can't remember a certain detail, especially the trait section. It can be hard to keep track of all these tiny details, but they really help to flesh out a character, so I'm glad I have Unveil to keep track of all these little details. Unveil is also just a really great place to share your work with other creative people. It's super welcoming, has over 200,000 users, and is AI free, which is super awesome. They also recently did a revamp to the Explore and Search features. With the new UI, you can navigate through trending hashtags, filter by date, relevancy, or market, and see newly updated or recently posted characters. Plus, search is now faster, stronger, and can help you find users and their work. So not only can your work be discovered more easily, you can also find other people's work more easily. If you have creative works that you would like to share with others, I highly recommend checking out Unveil. And while you're there, you can follow me under the name Love to Draw Manga. Thank you so much again to Unveil for sponsoring this video. So back to Topaz. I picked the name Topaz because of the police character in Sonic X that is named Topaz. I was obsessed with Sonic X as a teen, and Topaz in Sonic X was a small character in the show, but I always liked her and thought she was really cool, so I also really liked her name. I do remember that originally Topaz's name was Jade and Jade was named Topaz, but I swapped their names because I felt like they fit their personalities better. I've never really redrawn Jade or Topaz, mostly because I never think I'll do anything with their story. I am partially considering reworking them a bit and throwing them into my fairy story, kind of like how I did with Alfred, but so far I don't really have a need for them. For Topaz's redesign, I'm not changing it too much. It's more that I'm just drawing her in my current style. I do slightly adjust her hairstyle, like I put her hair into a bun instead of a ponytail. Since a bun felt more practical for her line of work, it also gives her a more mature feel. For her outfit, I changed it up a decent amount, but still stuck with the overall vision younger me had. I wanted something that felt old-timey and also a bit like a maid or a work uniform. Instead of having a blue dress with a white shirt underneath, I drew a shirt that is tucked into a long skirt. The shirt has a button-up collar, and I'll draw these really puffy sleeves that kind of cuff in towards the bottom in a little bit. I have to say the old skirt looks really awkward and stiff and very hard to move around in, so this time I wanted to emphasize a more flowy skirt. Plus, flowy skirts are just really fun to draw. I found a few references to help me out with the skirt. I definitely would have had a harder time drawing it without the references. I did also still include the apron. If you're working with little kids, you probably want an apron. It can get really messy. I have lost count of the amount of times mini manga has ruined my clothes. When I was first considering redrawing Topaz, I was thinking I would just draw a headshot or maybe an upper torso drawing, but I decided to do a full body picture because I can tell I'm getting kinda rusty. As many of you know, I have a baby and he is now 4 months old. With being a mom, my drawing time has gone way down, and because of that, I've been not only drawing less, but I've also been drawing fewer characters in full body poses. And I find for me that when it comes to anatomy and poses, it's something that I need to practice often, or else I start to feel rusty. Like, how do I do this again? And I am glad I drew this pose. It does take longer, but I feel like the extra time is worth it. And overall, I feel like it did turn out not too bad. I am a little unhappy with the feet. I feel like they look a bit awkward. I spent a lot of time reworking the feet and their positioning, but I cut all of that footage out because it's really repetitive and I needed to make this footage be a bit shorter. So yeah, I'm kind of unhappy with the feet, but I like the rest of it. Since I am keeping this drawing sketchier, I decided to color it with my watercolor brush. And usually I really like my watercolor brush, but when I was coloring this picture, it felt kind of off and I wasn't really liking how it was looking for some reason. And at the time, I couldn't tell if it was just me or if it was the brush. I ignored the issue for now and just pushed through the coloring. But I do find out what was going on later, and we will get to that when that happens. But for now, here's my redrawing of Topaz. I really like her new vibe. She makes me think of a teacher. Also, I made her eyes yellow instead of violet because yellow is a more common and well-known color for topaz, whereas purple topaz is more rare, and I tend to associate purple more with amethyst. So yeah, I made her eyes yellow, and overall, I really like this new drawing of her. For the next thing YouTube wants me to do, we are going to go to this one because I want to save this one for last. And here we have Speed Drawing Challenge, Art from Random Prompts. So for this one, I googled a prompt generator and found this one. Future me will put a link to it in the description. And what I got from this generator is a theme of sleep and wakefulness with the item of candles. The character is an alien. The color palette is raspberry, lemon, and mint. Mood is tranquil. And the challenge is to draw both realistic and abstract. And I'm going to tell you right now, I failed at doing that. So this does have to be a speed challenge, so I gave myself 10 minutes, but I am going to speed up the footage since I do not have enough to say about this piece to last 10 minutes. Also, like we did last time, here's what YouTube thinks I should say. 30 seconds. One random, absurd prompt. Can I create something genuinely awesome, or will it be a hilarious disaster? Get ready for a whirlwind of frantic sketching, unexpected artistic turns, and probably a few laughs as I tackle the most unconventional art challenge you can imagine. I don't really know if this challenge counts as the most unconventional. I feel like it's a pretty basic YouTube art challenge. Also, I was not going to give myself only 30 seconds. I felt like I was barely able to draw anything within the 10 minutes I gave myself. So as you can see, I'm drawing a little alien character that looks kind of sleepy and is sitting next to a candle. Since this was supposed to be about speed, I didn't spend time beforehand thinking about what I would draw. I included that time in the creation of the piece. And yeah, it's kind of just a simple little drawing. I don't really love or hate it. It's definitely not amazing. And I was panicking like the whole time, especially when I only had like 2 minutes to do all of the coloring. I do have to say, I do like the color combo. The colors work better together than I anticipated. Also, to help the piece feel more tranquil, I did try to emphasize the lighting coming from the candle. I do kind of like that part. So yeah, here's my little speed drawing. I may revisit this prompt generator for a future video. It was a really fun and kind of different one to use. Next, YouTube wants me to react to my first digital drawing. So technically, I don't have my first ever digital drawing because it died alongside Disney Create. However, I do have the first digital drawing I made with the first drawing software I got, which was Manga Studio 4 debut. So let's take a look. Oh wait, actually, I need to say what YouTube wants me to say. Remember that feeling when you first picked up a digital tablet, full of excitement and absolutely no idea what you were doing? Well, I sure do. Today we're unearthing my most embarrassing, yet surprisingly foundational first digital drawing. Get ready to cringe, laugh, and maybe even feel a little bit better about your own artistic journey. I love how YouTube is assuming my old art is just cringe. I mean, it's not wrong, but it also doesn't need to call me out like that. Anyways, I located the file on my hard drive, so let's open it up. Goodness, okay, I don't know if it's like better or worse than I remember. I always really remember this picture because I spent so long working on it and also getting so frustrated with it because I couldn't quite figure out how to use Manga Studio 4 debut. There wasn't a ton of online resources for it, and I was only a little teenager, so everything felt very, very complicated. The character looks very dead inside, and her hair is very stringy looking. I admire that I was trying to go so detailed with the hair fringe, but it just looks really awkward, I feel like. Also, the character's shoulders look really stiff, and her armpits are really awkward. I do remember that I did redraw this piece one time, but like it wasn't super true to this original piece. Maybe I should try redrawing it sometime and try to stick more true to the picture. I don't know. You can let me know if that's something you want to see. But yeah, here's my super cringe old art, as YouTube likes to put it. And last but not least, YouTube wants me to do my annual Draw This in Your Style challenge. I find this title funny because I do not have a Draw This in Your Style challenge that I do annually, but I guess we can start this year. And here's what YouTube wants me to say. It's the moment you've been waiting for. I don't know how all of you would be waiting for this, but okay. The highly anticipated Draw This in Your Style challenge is finally here with a fresh twist. Prepare to be inspired, push your artistic boundaries, and join a community that celebrates unique visions. You won't want to miss what we have in store for this year's artistic adventure. So I've only ever created one Draw This in Your Style challenge. It was over on Instagram back in 2021, and it was for a collaboration with a tablet company. I think it was Parblo, but I could be wrong. So this definitely isn't an annual thing that I do. But if you all remind me to do this again next year, we can make it an annual thing if you want. Also, if you don't know, a Draw This in Your Style challenge is basically an artist makes a piece of art and invites other artists to redraw that piece in their own style. So I'm going to draw a piece of art, and then if you all want, you can redraw it in your style and share it on social media for me and others to see. I will tell all of you how you can share your art later on in this video. So for the art piece, I wanted it to be of one of my OCs and be on the simpler side, but also still be interesting and fun to draw. I wanted to keep this picture more on the simple side so that people who want to redraw it don't feel too overwhelmed or intimidated. I wanted them to have fun. I also wanted it to feature an OC of mine because I always love seeing my characters in other people's style. So for the character, as some of you can tell, I chose Doris. She is the main character of my webcomic, My Next Door Neighbors. And since we're getting closer to the end of summer here in the Northern Hemisphere, I thought it'd be nice to draw a summery feeling piece. First I was thinking of having Doris pose with her hands grabbing the sun hat she is wearing, but the arms kept feeling really awkward. Plus, like I said, I wanted to try to keep things a bit more on the simple side. So instead I switched over to the idea you are seeing now. Doris is in 3/4 view and her hair is blowing in the wind, and she's still wearing the sun hat. Also, I love drawing the swoopiness of the sun hat. I think Doris looks so cute. So I wanted to take a moment to talk about some non-art related things and answer some comments I've been getting. The first one is that some of you are curious as to if I've seen that Hollow Knight Silksong is finally releasing. And yes, I did see that. I was so excited when I heard about the live stream, and I was so shocked when the game got announced that I'd be releasing super soon. And I am so hyped. I've been waiting a really long time for Silksong. Not as long as other people because I got into Hollow Knight kinda late. But I've still been waiting a good number of years. But yeah, I'm so excited. I am a little bit conflicted because I did get Donkey Kong Bonanza kinda recently. And I'm slowly working my way through that game in my free time. And a lot of times I don't buy new games until I beat the current game I'm playing. But I think I'm going to make an exception here. I love Hollow Knight so much, so I don't want to wait even longer to play Silksong. Plus, I feel like if I try to force myself to beat Bonanza, I won't fully enjoy it. So I feel like I'm better off just letting myself get Silksong instead of rushing through Bonanza. And the second question I've been getting in the comments is that many of you are wondering how Mini Manga is doing. It has been a couple of videos since I last updated all of you on how he's doing. So I thought I would update you now. Overall, Mini Manga is doing well. He has been starting to smile more, and he has been making lots of baby noises. They're all super cute. He is growing so much. He has been wearing 6-month sized clothes, but I do not feel like he'll be wearing them for much longer. He's a very long baby. My husband and I always joke that he's gonna be taller than both of us. So overall, he is doing well. But this next part of the update is a little bit more sad. So if you don't feel like hearing sad medical stuff, you can skip ahead. I'll try to put a timestamp on screen to where you can skip to. Things have been a bit hard for me recently. In a past video, I mentioned that we would be taking Mini Manga to the eye doctor because of a new involuntary eye movement he was doing. And at the appointment, we learned that Mini Manga is legally blind. And when I first heard that, I was like, okay, but he can just wear glasses, right? But it turns out that Mini Manga's eyes are totally fine. They work and see like they should. However, the part of Mini Manga's brain that processes vision was damaged when he had the stroke. So because of this, Mini Manga has what is known as CVI. Basically, his eyes can see, but the brain has a hard time processing that information because of the damage. The symptoms of CVI can vary widely, and because mini manga is still so little, we don't know exactly what he sees. But based on how his eyes behave, the ophthalmologist says we can assume he's not seeing much, therefore he's legally blind. I've been researching CVI a lot in my free time, and I'm trying to find ways that I can best help mini manga. We'll also be meeting with specialists to try to find ways that can help. I feel like I was finally starting to kind of come to terms with things. But this has kind of thrown me back to the start. When I was pregnant, we were told he might need glasses, but we were not prepared for this. Right now, I'm kind of just trying to focus on the next right steps and what we can do, but it's hard. So yeah, that's the update on how mini manga is. Thank you to all of you who are curious about how mini manga is doing, and to those of you who are praying for him. It is much appreciated. So back to the art piece. For the coloring, I wanted to keep it on the more simple side. So I mostly did cell shading, and to make the cell shading more interesting, I added color variations to it. Like I added purples and some light blues. I also outlined a lot of the shading with a bright red. This helps the lighting to feel more warm, like it's coming from the sun. Being that this is a Draw This in Your Style challenge, I'm now going to tell all of you how you can share your version of this picture with me and others. I'm going to have two options. Option 1 is my YouTube community page. In case you missed it, you can now post on my community page. I've been having so much fun seeing everyone's art. So if you'd like, you can post your art directly to the community. Just tap the Visit Community button on my channel, and you should be taken over to the community where you can create your post. Sadly, according to YouTube, posting to communities is only available on mobile Android, except foldable devices, and iOS YouTube app version 19.45 or later. So not everyone has access to it. So the second option is you can post your art to Instagram and use the hashtag L2DM_DTIYS so that I can find it. And the third option is you can send your art to me at L2DMDrawMyOC@gmail.com. Please title the email DTIYS so I know that it's a Draw This in Your Style challenge submission. I'm not 100% sure, but I may try to feature the drawings at the end of a future video. However, if there are like a ton of submissions, maybe I'll make a dedicated video on it, but we will see. Like I mentioned earlier, my watercolor brush wasn't acting like it usually does. At first I thought maybe I was just imagining things, but I could definitely tell it was acting weird when I was trying to draw clouds, because usually I can draw clouds very easily with my brush, but here it was not looking right at all. I learned that I had somehow switched my settings from smear to running color, and that's what the problem was. It's amazing that one setting can do so much to a brush. I'm glad I figured it out though. It felt so much nicer once I had figured out what was wrong. Also, you can find my watercolor brush on the Clip Studio Paint asset library if you'd like to use it for yourself. It's also totally free to use. So here is the final picture. I wasn't expecting anything amazing out of this piece when I started, but I'm actually really happy with how it turned out. It has the vibes that I wanted, and like I said, I feel like Doris looks super cute in this outfit. It was really interesting going through the YouTube AI suggestions. If you'd like to see me do this again, please let me know. You never know what YouTube might suggest for me to do. Before we end, I want to thank my super awesome YouTube members and Patreon patrons for their support. It means so much to me. And thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all next week in my next video. Bye!